Welcome back, Lattes!
Welcome back to our channel.
It's still so exciting to me.
It's still our channel.
Like, we've been going at this now for over a month, but it's still so exciting to me. So we're gonna tell you about the story of us, the story of Holly and Jess.
Sounds like we're married. August 2017 is when we met.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Sort of. We'll go into the sort of part afterwards. I was in a really good point in my life, actually. I was at probably like one of the best points in my life.
Good for you.
I'm sorry. Maybe that's why we became so good friends.
Yeah.
Because I was able to like invest in other things other than myself. We were like in the midst of Men Try, like doing really well. It's still doing well. And I was in a really good mental state. I was like, I felt like I was really balancing everything really well. Balancing work with personal life, with social life. Everything was in a really good spot. Like it was a really high point for me.
I remember one of the comments, somebody saying like, what's the first thing you noticed about each other? I remember reading that comment on one of our videos, and that is exactly the first impression I had of you, was how balanced you were as a person. Wow. And I think that's what actually drew me to be your friend, because I looked at you and I thought, this is a person that I want to be friends with. This is a person that I want to be like. As a person being in the lull and looking at somebody in the high, I think a lot of people nowadays look at that as like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm in competition with that person. There's no comparison, because Jess might be in a really bad time and I might be having a really good time. For some reason, our friendship worked and clicked because of our situations that we're in. Maybe if we were both on this super high, then we wouldn't have become the friends that we've become. Friendships that have failed me and that have disappointed me, and that in turn has made me really scared to invest myself and invest my energy into other women or other friends. And so when Jess came along, she was like my savior of believing in women. So I was at the bottom, and then Jess comes along and we meet. They were filming a video for Men Try at the studio that I trained at. So we were talking after they finished filming, and they say, oh, we've actually been wanting to do a Men Try pole dancing video. And I was like, oh, well, I teach pole. I do pole. Yeah. I can do that. Jess and I exchanged numbers. Yeah. And then I think it was like really fast, like within a week or something, you were messaging me and you're like, hey, you want to do this? Yeah. It was really quick.
It was real quick. But then from there, you know, each time we met, we just went less business and more friend. And I feel like it doesn't feel like work.
We do a pole lesson, we do a stretch lesson, we have a good time. So like 3 years ago, I had this idea that I wanted to make tutorials and I wanted to offer them so that I could access everyone in the world and teach them aerial sling. And I never quite like made that leap, because it was always like, well, what if they suck? And what if I don't know how to edit these videos? And you always kind of make an excuse for not doing it. And Jess comes along, she's just like, yeah, let's do this thing. And I'm like, wow, we're gonna do it.
This is happening.
This is happening.
Well, see, like, it's funny hearing you say that, because one of my joys, and I have this in like my planner, and I think it might be why I was like drawn to you, because she's so passionate about what she does, and I'm really drawn to passionate people, and I like to watch and help people succeed and like follow their passions. And so it's been just as much of a fun ride for me as it has you. Like I
text her things. I'm like, look, Jess, we sold videos.
Seeing you like just take off. I think that's just why we make such good friends.
That's like the foundation of our friendship, pretty much. And then we just are like two weirdos. So that's
two relatable weirdos.
That's the other element that's really key here, guys.
So now, circling around, so if this is our starting point, now we're here, we're going like way back here. So way back then, we went to the same school, both in the same department. We were both in the art building, her for painting, me for graphic design. I don't know how many times we must have crossed paths. When I met her at the studio we were filming Men Try, I recognized her face and I was like, where have I seen her before? Where do I know this person from? I knew that we had never like really interacted much, but I knew that I'd seen you on multiple occasions. I don't know if we would have really met then if we would have been friends. Because I was at a totally different point in my life. I was at a lull. Part of me is like, oh, I wish we would have met back then, but I really don't think we would be where we're at now had we really met back then. So I specifically remember 2 times where I had interacted with Holly. The first one being I needed some academic counseling. So I needed somebody to help me with my schedule and figure out which classes I still needed, etc. And I go into Holly's office and she sits down with me. She's very like quiet and just help me with my business. And so she's like, okay, so you need this and this, and you know, sends me on my way.
This story makes me laugh because when she first told me that, she's like, oh, I remember how I know you. And then she tells me the story. And I really don't remember it because I saw so many people as an advisor, and so she tells me, and I'm like, well, did I do a good job? She's like, I made it through school, so obviously.
So like that was the very first time I remember like interacting with Holly.
Thank you.
And it was just like a short, quick interaction, and that was it. And the second time I remember, I was in the little art shop just buying a little snacky snack before class.
Oh.
And you like checked me out at the register or something. You were
but I just like handed you something?
Something, yeah. Some sort of small, tiny little interaction. But for some reason, I remember that moment.
That was a pivotal moment in Jess's life when I handed her a pen.
Like, oh. But since then, like, I never really saw, a couple years went by, never saw Holly, never, you know, we weren't friends. And then we met in the little studio that you trained at. You just happened to be there that day we were filming.
Super crazy.
And that's how it all began.
Should we read some questions?
Yes. Nicole King says, I'd love to know how you both became such good friends. We already went over that. And what kinds of things do you have in common? And I thought this was an interesting question. Because aside from being weirdos that kind of share bits of their lives on social media, we don't have like a huge thing in common. I mean, we both value...
think that's true. I think we have a love of fitness in common.
That's the other one that I was going to say.
I think we're both dreamers. I think we allow ourselves to dream. We pursue dreams. We are achievers in that way. Like, we do little goal planning sessions and our little agendas and our journals.
I mean, that's kind of what I mean. Like, there's no, like, obvious things. Like, oh, we both do aerial, or oh, we both,
I'm so glad that she wasn't an aerial this. When you have a pool of friends that you only are friends with like certain types of people from certain cultural groups or certain hobbies or whatever, I feel like you're typically gonna always have the same type of friendship. Does that make sense? Like the interactions will be based on the same thing all the time. It's like you're only friends because of that one connecting factor.
And I think that's why we've become such good friends, is there wasn't really one specific
that connected us.
Thing.
It was just like two humans that were like, hey, we need each other.
Holly, another Holly Weist, says, how long have you been friends for? It's been just over a year and a half now.
Yeah, so not that long. But it's like, it also doesn't matter either, because you could have a friend for 15 years and never really feel like you connect with them on a deeper level or feel like you can be your true self with that person.
929 Tinkerbell says, how did you guys meet and what keeps your friendship strong? Leah Williams says, how do you ensure time for friendship as a mom? I find it so hard to find time for my friends due to mom duties nonstop. So we'll go into both of those.
I'm not speaking for Jess because I'm not a mom and I don't understand the mom duties yet. So I see the energy that she puts into her family, and so I get all that, but I also haven't been in the shoes of being a new mom. But I can speak for myself as her friend before and after motherhood, or during motherhood because you're still a mother.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that has helped us stay connected is for me as the non-mom friend, the non-parent, to be the same person that she was. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, I'm saying that in a way that I know she's gonna change because she has to, because she has a new life to take care of. So when she gave birth, that was like the new adventure, right? That was the beginning of her new adventure. But for me as her old friend, if I wanted to stay her friend, I had to accept the fact that
You're like,
oh, Jess.
I think that's really the key. And that's why I was afraid of
not
losing her as a
expecting
friend.
her to like bend over backwards for me as a friend. You know, I think, oh gosh, you're gonna make me cry, dude. I remember you saying something like, you texted me because I was feeling a little bit like, you know, I was missing her and I hadn't seen her in a while, and she was, you know, going through a lot of like emotions and mental stuff. She's probably like so overwhelmed. Like, she doesn't need me being like, hey, when are we gonna go be friends again? Because there was like a gap, but I feel like we always pick up where we leave off anyways. But during that time, it was really crucial for me to not put a lot on her shoulders as far as like
to really not expect a lot from her. But I wrote her and I said, hey, like, I'm going through a hard time right now, like, please just be patient with me. I don't want to lose you as a friend. And that was like really like an important thing to me, because Holly had been such a good friend, like, before the pregnancy, throughout the pregnancy. And so I was really afraid of losing her as a friend. And I think like that is the key to keeping your friendships. During my pregnancy, like, Holly was there for me. She like, you were like,
you really think so?
Absolutely. You were so excited about my pregnancy, and just like, she would talk to my belly, and she was just such a genuine good friend to have while I was going through those changes. Like, my body was changing, my mental state was changing, like everything was changing, but you and my husband were like, there. You were there for me. I know a lot of times people lose their friends when they get pregnant, or like when people are in different stages of life.
And you have to accept it's just different. And I think I love Jess more now that she's a mom, because she's totally like inspired me to take the bull by the horns, so to speak. Watching her through her pregnancy, and she was like embracing every single part of it. Like, her body changed, and I never once heard her say like negative things about herself. But I'm just saying, overall, like, she had such positivity about what was happening to her body, and I would like pick her brain all the time. I'm like, so what is it like? Are you scared? Like, what are you doing? Now to see her be an awesome like mom is like, wow, I'm so glad I'm her friend. Like, I'm so glad that I'm Micah's auntie.
From Krista Vlogs, she asks, how does Holly feel about being on YouTube?
It doesn't really feel like anything's different right now, because I feel like we're the same in video that we are in real life. I think it's kind of funny, honestly, when I tell people like, I started a YouTube channel. It kind of makes me giggle, because I don't know, it's a weird life. Not something I ever thought I would do. It's really like uplifting to look at some of the things that people say. I feel the potential, you know, when you can look at a project or something and a person and you're like, hey, there is something there. That's how I feel about this channel. I don't feel a lot of impact yet, but I do feel like we are making some kind of impact, and that's cool, because I've always wanted to be part of something bigger than myself.
Yeah. All right, Mrs. Lieferman says, what's your favorite pastime when not working on your channels or being a mommy? One of my favorite pastimes, two of them that come to mind. I used to play tennis, and I loved tennis. Like, it was a passion of mine. And also yoga. I used to do a lot of yoga.
I really love to cook. And really it started after I got married, because I finally had someone to cook for that was forced to eat my food. I do love to garden. I started a garden last year, and I was loving like going out and picking my tomatoes.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, we answered a bunch of questions, kind of told you how we got to know each other, and this is
why
the story
we're
of
friends.
Holly and Jess.
The story of us.
We hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe it gave you, I mean, I hope that whenever we do Q&As that, I mean, we're obviously not professionals. I feel like we have valuable information to share, and hopefully you guys find value in that. I really hope that it is valuable to all of you. Until next time, I guess.
Yeah.
Dink.
Dink. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.